All right. Hello. Welcome to Feminist Futures. This episode will actually be for both yesterday, Monday, and today, Tuesday. I think I've said before because of my work schedule. I work on the weekends mostly, so Mondays and Fridays are sometimes a little hectic in trying to get streams up for you guys, but we are here today. Fun. Have a lot of news to get through from yesterday and today, so we'll see what we can do here. All right. So first thing I want to say, for those of you who missed it, this past weekend, it was Trans Day of Visibility. Which is like fantastic, but then it's also just like, well, just a reminder of all the ridiculous anti-trans shit coming out of our various governments, federal, state, local. But it should remind us that, especially as minority groups, we got to stick together. We got to power through this. We got to assert our rights, say fuck you, no matter what the Supreme Court tells us, type of thing, and protect our own, mutual aid, all that good stuff. So yeah. So I was actually watching one of my, I don't know, I don't watch all her stuff, but some of her stuff I watch on YouTube. Kat Black is her name. She's a Black trans woman, and she's been on YouTube since almost like the beginning. She has a lot of great analysis on gender, trans stuff, queer stuff. So I was watching her response video to the whole Brian Noem thing we talked about Friday. Former head of DHS, former governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, the dog killer, her husband. It was leaked through the Daily Mail or the Telegraph or something. One of the big UK British tabloid papers leaked that he was doing. He had a bimbo fetish where he was dressing up, in women's clothing, and he had, the fake boobs and everything. And as like a fetish type of thing, he did on the side kind of. So anyway, this one, he was in this group chat with these three women. At least one of them was a sex worker. I'm not sure if all of them were. But anyway, one of these sex workers was an undocumented person. And in retaliation to all the disgusting shit that Trump and Kristi Noem have been doing and ICE has been doing, they had leaked these photos of Kristi Noem's husband to the Telegraph. And anyway, and then they got published, and there's this, it's this big firestorm still kind of going on a little bit. Like, the cross-dressing thing isn't like so much the issue, do what I'm very much like, do whatever you want, do that gender play, which this clearly is. But it does point to some larger trends that we often don't talk about that Kat Black brought up that I think are very worth bringing up again. That unfortunately, a lot of trans people know, like just about every sex worker knows, that a lot of these big time, not always Republican and conservative, but a lot of these, particularly a lot of these very powerful white men in our country that have excessive income and stuff like that have like this fetish of role playing like a minoritized person, essentially. And it may seem counterintuitive. Basically, I'm just summing up really quick the analysis here. So it may seem like counterintuitive. Why would these very like powerful people have a desire, have a fetish for being, playing a very submissive, like powerless role. Well, it kind of makes sense if you follow the logic of patriarchy and misogyny out to its fullest extent, that like people at the top of the hierarchy, right? These very privileged, often and wealthy white men, not only just white men, but seems to be it's funny how often it's these Republican white men politicians and business leaders and stuff like that are doing this. But it's like, okay, you're at the top of the hierarchy, right? You're given all these privileges, you have all this wealth. Like, you kind of start thinking about what's the positionality, like what's the position of other people? What would it be like to be, in their minds, what would it be like to be a woman in this society that supposedly has no powers or whatever, according to this patriarchal, misogynist like construction of society we all hold in our minds. So anyway, so it becomes, not always, and again, not all men, let me be clear, but particular very privileged, wealthy, often white Republican men have this fetish of like, oh, what would it be like to be, a woman or whatever, some other marginalized person. Anyway, talk to any sex worker in this country. These are the majority of their clients. Kat Black, who was doing this analysis, actually did in her younger days did sex work, and she knows a lot of sex workers and stuff like that. But I mean, I honestly, ask any like performer at Gentlemen's Club or anything like that. This is fairly common, and it's not talked about enough, right? That like there's this weird, it kind of makes sense when you look at it, but on its face, a weird dynamic of like, okay, these people, especially these people that are very out and loud and proud, right, about like pushing this anti-queer, anti-trans, shit that we continually see. Most of those people are either either closeted homosexuals or bisexuals, and or have some type of like cross-dressing slash submission fetish going on. Again, not everyone, like, and what you do in your own time, your private time, is whatever. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that, pointing out that often you get people with these conflicting desires in their heads of like, okay, so I can't, because I can't express my true sexuality and gender identity, I have to stop everyone else from doing it. So it creates this, on its face, contradictory ideology. But actually, if you follow out, like I said, if you follow patriarchy to its logical end, like this is what you get, right? To illustrate this, I think so. Of course, Kat Black also went on and did a whole thing on Twitter and social media about response posts to this, in addition to this YouTube video, that I thought was, and one of these quotes was really good. So I'm going to read it to you to further highlight what I'm trying to describe here. She says, quote, "What's interesting to me as a polyamorous trans woman who has 3 boyfriends, some of whom share what I'm into and some of them who do not, is that these people," referencing Brian Noem and these other powerful like white men, is that these people want to stigmatize me and oppress me. They want for me to experience rejection and oppression because of who I am. It's hard to not clock the jealousy. I think this is like, especially that last sentence, like sums it up very, very well. Like when you're in a position, you know, and we do this too, like our weird obsession in America with like billionaires and pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps and, like, oh, just one mega million lottery win and I'll be like Elon Musk or whatever. It's all the same thing, kind of in reverse direction, right? So so it's interesting, but we do like a lot of our, and I'm not a counselor or anything like that, but like a lot of our fantasies, right? Our fantasies are built around the other, right? The other like defines us. Like for instance, if there wasn't, and again, I'm not saying this is not a justification for uh patriarchy, highly strict hierarchical systems like we have, but 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 one of the things you get in these very strict hierarchies that we live in is that you get one group desiring the life of the other group, and like their meaning does they don't their meaning derives from the existence of the other, right? Whether that's the trans woman of color on the street selling her body, whether that's just the average woman, whatever, as the other for these rich white, often Republican men, or if it's like the people, that go buy lottery tickets and stuff like that are just like, oh, what if I hit one big mega million, I'll be like Elon Musk. And so anyway, this is all like, again, a logical extension of like these strict patriarchal, misogynist, white supremacist uh, hierarchies that we have in our country. And it's really like really weird, but kind of makes sense if you think about it. And like where do most people feel the most comfortable, right? Like what area in their life? Usually it's in the bedroom, right? Like sex is often, and this is kind of weird to think about, but often our sexual desires, you know, grow out from not only our upbringing, but like the culture we live in, right? And so we like our desires are often around like being the other, right? In some aspect, which can lead to good things. It can lead to, like open-mindedness and learning about others, but then it can also lead to toxic shit like this whole Brian Gnome thing. So yeah, keep this in mind. So this saying, actually there's two sayings I want you to keep in mind as we go through this. So the first one, that is the title of this episode: every accusation is a confession. So every time you hear a crazy like right-wing queer phobe, say something about trans people, how like the trans are grooming the children or whatever, or basically anything Donald Trump says, honestly, like just think anything Donald Trump says, every accusation they make is a confession. Just think about Trump. Just think how all he's ever been concerned with is calling other people weak, calling other people, ugly names, stuff like that. Those are all accusations. That is Donald Trump, who dealing with childhood trauma that he's had, from his father, etc. That he's never like resolved. And so you either hold it in and it becomes toxic and you project violence and everything else out onto others, or else you go to counseling and like get some actual fucking help, So um honestly, that's all it is. And I've said many times, as we see Trump's brain literally deteriorate in real time because of its age and his health and all that stuff, it's just going to be more and more obvious, right, in our face. And it's not just him; it's like basically everybody in his administration. A lot of these powerful, Epstein class people that we continually talk about. And then the other phrase too that kind of goes along with this, that kind of fuels this this bimbo fetish and stuff like that, is the saying that no one benefits more from identity politics than mediocre white men. I think this is so spot on too, as we see who is leading our country right now, as we see who's leading the world, who's the head of businesses. Like, I mean, even Joe Biden, this isn't exclusive to Republicans and conservatives. Look at Joe Biden. I mean, if Joe Biden like doesn't scream mediocre white man that just happened to have a lot of money, I don't know what does. And another example of this, like when Trump debated Kamala in the last election, this was on full display. We have this such oversized trust in like white men, in particular in this country, that they can skate by and not do anything. Like this is what the whole affirmative action freak out has been about. A lot of it is white men are actually having to compete for jobs, actually having to compete against other people. And of course, they are going to have to do a little more work, and they are often, the whiniest babies about it, of course. Like, for instance, Charlie Kirk, literally what started Charlie Kirk's career was him in high school applying to West Point Military Academy and being rejected. I mean, I'm not going to lie, we all know rejection's tough. It really kicks you, on your ass, and you really have to rethink things oftentimes. But you can either learn and grow from that, or else you can just dwell on it and, basically repress it and be a whiny baby like Charlie Kirk was, and be like, oh, a black woman took my position, which, again, no evidence of this. Again, this is the other ridiculous thing. White men can claim whatever, and they're automatically assumed to be right, which is just insane. Question everybody. Be skeptical of everybody. Hell, be skeptical of me. Do your own damn research, But some reason in our country, like we give, and again, it's not a Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal thing. Like a hall pass is so easily given to many white men in this country. It's just insane. And so, these are the consequences we see. This is why these people that claim other people are snowflakes or whatever are actually usually the biggest whiny babies there are, because, it's all projection. It's all goes back to every accusation is a confession. Anyway, okay, that's enough of that. Let's actually move on to the news here, but keep those two quotes in mind as we go through the news here. Okay, so we got some entertainment news. Ye, formerly Kanye, our favorite black KKK member, or whatever the fuck he is these days, is going to headline the Wireless Festival in London. So obviously this is a huge controversy because of all the ridiculous shit Ye has said, and his just complete mistreatment of Kim Kardashian and all her partners and whatnot. But yeah, so this Wireless Festival in London, kind of a big music festival in the UK, is sticking to it, saying Ye is going to come and perform. Now there's issues with whether Ye will even be allowed into the UK or if he'll be turned away. So who knows? We'll see. I mean, this Wireless Festival, the head of the Wireless Festival said something like, in defense of this, he's just like, oh, people change. We have to have forgiveness, which yeah, I mean, I get that. I think everyone agrees with that, right? But like, I don't know. There just seems to be a line between like forgiveness and just like, I don't know, like falling over and surrendering, type of thing. This just like these type of justifications just remind me so much. So I was like raised Catholic, right? Of like, I don't want like totally disparage all Catholics, and and the Catholic Church here. But it's funny how many like people be like, oh, go party on the weekend, have premarital sex, do all this sinning, on Friday, Saturday, whatever, in the week, go to confession, the priest absolves me, and then so I can go to church on Sunday. It's just, at some point, it's just like, okay, really, like, right? I don't know, like justifications like that strike me as this. Again, not saying like we shouldn't have compassion and we shouldn't be empathetic and forgiving towards others, but there's also like a line too. And I don't know. I think a lot of people like cross that line a long time ago. So I don't know. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. Probably not much, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Lil Nas X had assaulted someone. I guess it was last year. The court or the judge in this case said they will dismiss the charges if he completes a mental health program. So, that's nice. Another like one less black person in prison is nice. But I mean, I hope the best. I hope the best for him. I'll talk about this Chapel Roan thing again. So again, this story continues, and it's just another example of going back to, every accusation is a confession. This misogynist takedown of Chapel Roan that's going on. Well, it's been going on for a while, but this newest installment, right, of her supposedly sending the bodyguard after 11-year-old child, and that whole thing. So I know this is a little old, but again, I just have to reiterate this because it keeps popping up in the news because we're so like, again, always giving the benefit of the doubt to the white man, to the man, but never giving any doubt or any, never buying the story of the woman, especially the more popular, the more famous the woman is, the more the misogyny comes out, right? It seems like. So anyway, the security guard in question, Pascal Duvier, I think is how you say his last name. He released a statement. This was back on the 25th of March. So again, it's been a while, but the story still continues. But I just mentioned this to, again, further reiterate how much of a misogynist, like, shitstorm this is against Chapel Roan. Even the security guard in question came out on Instagram and said, hey, I apologize. I had nothing to do with Chapel Roan. I got a little overzealous and, thought that like this girl and her mother were like being a little too intrusive or whatever. So again, we got another source that's backing Chapel Roan's side of the story. But again, that doesn't stop the continual march of misogynist, patriarchal slop that is, that is our internet these days, sadly. Okay. Anyway, here's another one. Blake Lively, another famous, rich, woman who's going through the patriarchal, misogynist bullshit. So I told you about how she had filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni because of his sexual harassment and just general like disgusting behavior towards her on the movie set of God, I forget the name of the movie now. I don't know. But anyway, so she filed a court case, 13 accusations against him, and then he countersued, and then his countersuit was thrown out, and now we found out like Friday that only 3 of the 13 accusations Lively had against Baldoni will be actually taken to court, and this judge wrote something like kind of long actually for like a lower level court case like this, wrote a 125-page opinion on like why all of these sexual assault allegations were unfounded and like didn't deserve to go to court. Just ridiculous shit. I haven't read the whole document, but it seems like every day I'm hearing some new reasoning this judge did, which is just absolutely insane, but not surprising when you consider how open judges and prosecutors are to dismissing any sexual assault related charge ever. Especially against women, not just women, anybody. I mean, men are sexually assaulted, everyone, all types of people are sexually assaulted, and judges just love to kick it out, which points to kind of larger issues of our legal system in America. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. So this most recent justification of kicking these sexual assault charges out is just, again, even more ridiculous than what I had talked about Friday. But this judge basically said that it was not what Justin Baldoni did to Blake Lively was not sexual assault because, quote, it was against her character, not her. What the fuck? So apparently if you're acting, I don't like improv, in a movie on stage, it's apparently not sexual assault if it's like if it's in their performance, which is like really weird. Like, okay, I realize there's like porn and stuff that's there's such a thing as like rape porn and sexual assault porn and stuff like that. But like, I think the key part here that we're missing is consent. So the whole accusation was Blake Lively said, hey, we were in this scene. I realized it was supposed to be like, this whole movie was about a woman being abused by her partner. But there's a fucking line. She's just like, the way I understand that. I signed up for everything like that. But like what he did on set and off of set was so beyond the pale of anything that I like consented to or signed up for that this is sexual assault. Well, no, apparently that isn't going to fly, because apparently if you're acting in a play and you get fucking sexual assaulted, oh, it was just part of the play, just, I don't know. So irritating. So irritating. It's like, what the fuck? So but again, this is just an example of how judges and prosecutors and even police officers will bend over backwards to say, oh no, actually it wasn't sexual assault. It was something else. Again, discrediting victims, victim blaming. We just see more of it all the time. Anyway, believe the victims, believe the survivors, bottom line. So, okay, the rapper Offset was shot in Florida. Thankfully, they are in stable condition. That was according to the AP. Also, according to the AP, Super Mario Galaxy movie. There's a movie out, Super Mario Galaxy. It made $372.5 million globally. Again, that's million with an M. So okay, I haven't seen this movie. I only recently heard about it. I'm not one for, honestly, to be very honest, I'm not one for like animated and like superhero movies too much. Although the last Mario movie I did watch, and that was pretty good. Not in theaters, but I had to watch it later. So maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. We'll see. But breaking box office records. And who doesn't love Mario, right? So anyway, according to Fox News here, Lady Gaga canceled her Montreal concert kind of last second, apparently due to some health issues. I guess she's, having some sickness right now. So, best of luck to her. Wish you the best, Lady Gaga. Huge fan. Okay, science and tech. Apple turns 50 this year, the company Apple. Artemis 2, the moon mission that went off, it has looped around the moon and it's coming back now, which now this makes it the longest distance in space humans have ever traveled. So it blasted off from Earth, it like circled around the moon, and then it's coming back on like kind of circle around the Earth and then land. So yeah, it's like over halfway done now, basically. And I had talked about last time about like how the moon is the closest like planet or star or whatever in space that's the closest to us, yet it's so far away. I actually underestimated how far the moon is. And one, you have to realize that, right, the Earth is orbiting, spinning around, the moon is spinning around the Earth. So the distance varies depending where the Earth and moon are in their orbits. But like on average, the moon is about 10 circumferences of the Earth away. So I greatly underestimated that, but I went back and looked it up. So basically, if you go around the world, go around the equator 10 times, that's the same distance as you going from the Earth to the moon. So, and that's the closest thing in space that's to Earth. So it's just wild. And then I saw somewhere that the next closest object to Earth is Venus, and Venus is like something like 100 times that distance. So just to give you an idea of like how vast space is. Yeah. So anyway, best of luck to them. Like, keep it up. Hope everything else goes safely and well for them. Okay. The only reason I know this is because I have a Samsung phone, honestly. But according to the AP, Samsung is ending their texting app. So if you have a Samsung like phone, we're all being moved over to Google Messages now. I think I was reading somewhere that I think Samsung is trying to shift their priorities away from like kind of traditional mobile stuff over to apps, or I don't know, some type of business move, I think is what started this. Okay, let's go to sport here. Eritrea, which I had actually never heard of this country. This is how like knowledgeable I am about the countries of the world. But Eritrea, which is a little country that's just north of Ethiopia. I believe it's Ethiopia. Someone will have to correct me, but so they have a very like repressive government. So Eritrea was playing another small African country. I think they were playing in South Africa. And basically 7 of their soccer players did not come back from South Africa. Apparently this isn't the first instance of it. Yeah, best of luck to them. Apparently Eritrea is is not a great country to be in right now. Okay, here we go. According to Reuters, and I saw it on a couple other news places, Shaq is starting a professional dunk league. So that should be interesting. Speaking of soccer and the World Cup, SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, one of the big U.S. hosts of some of the World Cup games, is urging FIFA to bar ICE agents from the World Cup. Like, it's just absolutely insane that this is an issue. This shouldn't be an issue. ICE should not be anywhere near the World Cup. But it's just another example of how Trump, and even worse, FIFA, is so in Trump's pocket now that they're just like letting Trump do whatever, making it harder to get visas. Prices for a World Cup ticket are now up to like $11,000. So again, it's just, just more example of like, the rich and privileged of this world trying to lock literally everybody out of accessing this. So we'll see what happens. I mean, kind of at this point, for as much as I am a World Cup fan, I'm kind of like at the boycott stage at this point. We need to be saying no. This is ridiculous. The World Cup is supposed to bring people together, not divide people. It's just sad, ridiculous. There should be more pressure on this. One more thing we need to organize around, right? Okay, this past weekend, the men's and women's college basketball championship games happened. So on the men's side, Michigan beats UConn for their second national title. So good job to them. On the women's side, UCLA beat South Carolina. So this was kind of interesting. Both UConn and South Carolina are kind of two of the bigger programs right now. So they were both kind of upset. Although I did watch Michigan play once or twice. They were really good. They were by far the best team in the Big Ten this season. And then on the women's side, I actually watched a couple of the UCLA games. They were like UCLA women, man. Whew, they were dominant this season. So good for those two teams. Okay. I mentioned on Friday that the Dallas Stars were investigating 4 fans for doing Nazi salutes at one of the Dallas Stars game. That investigation is over. Those 4 fans are banned. That's according to the AP. Good. That should not be acceptable anywhere in public. We should be fighting against hate, privilege, discrimination, all that. So that was a positive front. UNC, actually, funny enough, 5 hours before the national title game, UNC broke that they are hiring former Nuggets head coach Mike Malone. This was according to the AP, but it's kind of all over. I was listening to some stuff from a couple of the local, Tar Heel broadcast shows here. Mike Malone, apparently his daughter plays volleyball for UNC, so I guess it's kind of keeping the family centered here, so yeah, he under Mike Malone's tenure, the Denver Nuggets won their first NBA championship. Actually, the style of play that they were doing under him, where it was in certain ways very big man focused, right? Djokovic is maybe one of the best players the Denver Nuggets has ever had. Who's a big guy, which is kind of traditionally, I will say, under like Dean Smith, Roy Williams was kind of always the strategy, right? Have a big dude in the middle, a big center, that can get those rebounds, finish those missed shots, stuff like that, can power through people. Maybe Mike Malone will be bringing some of that back to UNC. That would be cool. But we'll see. Best of luck to him. UNC's really been struggling this year. Well, not just this year, the past several seasons. Best of luck to Hubert Davis. I really like the guy. He was Roy Williams' pick. But college athletics is hard, man. Especially now with and not saying I'm not against this at all, but with like the NIL and transfer portal and stuff like that, college sports is becoming so much more like professionalized that that colleges are just having to do all new types of things. So I mean, we'll see. Hopefully we'll get back to the old winning ways, Anyway, all right. Let's move on to world news here. Mideast. So in Iran, that airman, that pilot that was downed last Thursday, was finally recovered. So yeah, that was good. Recovered by the U.S., not Iran. So it's safe and sound at home, you know. Um, let's see. A bunch of other countries in Asia and around the world are making deals with Iran to try to bring about peace, despite Trump being an absolute idiot, saying, "Oh, I'm going to destroy a culture tonight" or whatever. Yeah, Trump's. Well, we'll talk about this a little later, but yeah, you know, Trump's usually ridiculous stuff about Iran. But you know, the whole world knows he's a big baby, big crying baby, especially when he doesn't get his way. Um, okay. And that's according to the BBC. Also, it's been reported on a bunch of other of the top news sites and stuff. Again, not surprising, Israel has launched more missiles into Gaza. Oh, wait, wasn't Trump bringing peace to Gaza? Yeah, everyone knows that's a sham. Like that, his whole peace board. Trump doesn't bring peace. He brings war. He brings destruction. He brings hate. We all know this. You know, this is why you don't trust a thing the man says. In fact, everything that he does say, believe the opposite. But yeah, we all knew this was going to happen because, like, oh, it's always the Palestinians' fault. It's always Hamas or whatever. Yeah, it's Israel who's shooting missiles into Gaza. It's Israel who's occupying Palestine. You know, it's just ridiculous. It's just you know, colonial powers trying to protect each other. Same old grift we've seen for centuries now. This is why we need to be pulling any money and support from Gaza. This is ridiculous that, you know, the U.S. is still doing this. You know, so kind of more of the same there. Keep organizing around that. Hold your elected representatives to account, you know. Excuse me. One sec. Okay. There's a pretty big and significant bridge between Saudi Arabia and Bahrain in the Gulf. That bridge just closed, again, thanks to the war in Iran. That was according to Reuters. Who knows when it will be open? You know, we'll see. All right, Europe. We have several European Sydneys and also Sydney, Australia, are banning fossil fuel ads. This is according to the BBC. Good. You know, one more thing that's becoming very obvious with this war in Iran is fossil fuels are unsustainable. They end up costing us and hurting us more. This is why we need to get rid of them. You know, renewable energy, public transportation is the way to go. And every day we just see this more and more. Okay. Also from the BBC reported that Ofcom, I guess it is, OFCOM, not sure how to pronounce it. But it's basically like the FCC equivalent in the UK. So they regulate the media and stuff in the UK, basically. They have found that fewer UK adults are posting on social media. Wonder why that is. It couldn't be because the UK has banned social media in through these age restrictions and stuff like that. So again, this was like no duh. Anyway, you know, because your access to the internet, your freedom on the internet doesn't fucking matter apparently. So let's see. Oh, the world famous misogynist Andrew Tate and his brother have been released from jail in Romania. They are now on house arrest. As their trial is ongoing, they're still investigating. I guess an appeals court ruled that the Tate brothers, based on the charges they are, which is like sex trafficking, you know, violence against women, you know, usual misogynist shit. Apparently those charges didn't warrant them sitting in prison or sitting in jail. So now they're on house arrest. I guess less people in jail. I mean, for like, that's kind of good, but it's also like, okay, like if anybody should be in jail, it should be Andrew Tate, you know. Anyway, I don't know what the terms of this house arrest are. I hope to God they're not allowed anywhere near like you know, the internet, stuff like that. So I mean, we'll see. This was according to Reuters. Ongoing litigation, you know, and then of course once the Romanian, this is awesome, but once the Romanian trial is done, then the Tate brothers are being extradited to the UK to face similar charges in the UK. And it would be nice if the US brought charges against them too, because like their crimes weren't just exclusive to Romania. But under this administration, no, that's not going to happen. But who knows? It's ongoing legal stuff. So, you know, your misogynist shit you spew and the abuse you do towards others has repercussions. You know, and we just need more of it in the world, honestly. Stop giving fucking white men passes on everything, you know, especially abusive people, you know. Anyway, so let's see, Asia, and I know Australia is not technically in Asia. They're their own continent, but I just threw it in here for organizing's sake. Australia's most decorated soldier has been arrested for 5 war crimes, according to the BBC and some other outlets. Good. This honestly, like most like U.S. soldiers and U.S. presidents are all war criminals. So this is good. Of course, in the U.S., we have the opposite, where you have very clearly like these sadistic, you know, former Navy SEALs and stuff who literally like tore apart bodies and, you know, did all types of disgusting shit and killed Iraqi civilians for no reason. You know, for instance, like Graham Plattner, you know, are given passes or given pardons by Trump. So this is a positive development. Hopefully more countries are like Australia, actually putting some teeth behind like actual war crimes, because war itself is a crime. Like there is no such thing as a humane war. So yeah, good for Australia. I hope more countries replicate this. India sentences 9 policemen to death over COVID custody killing. So I guess during COVID, these police officers, you know, illegally detained these people, and they basically died of neglect. So I'm anti-death penalty, so like it's not good that they were given the death penalty, but at least some other countries hold their law enforcement responsible for shit like this. They're soldiers and law enforcement and whatnot, but you know, not here in America. Apparently, you know, this fucked up colonial empire that we live in. Anyway, oh, and that was also according to the BBC. Myanmar coup leader, now president. Myanmar is, yeah, a very rough place in the world. This guy that has now become president, basically there's a military dictatorship essentially in Myanmar. So the guy that started the military coup against the last government that just devastated the country is now president. That's according to the BBC. So that's wonderful. This was kind of cool. Cambodia unveils statue of a famous landmine sniffing rat. So that was pretty cool. That was according to Reuters. Vietnam has new president, and I talked about this a while ago, that they had national elections. The Communist Party in Vietnam gained a couple more seats, and now it looks like their Communist Party is creating a government that's more similar to the Chinese Communist Party, which can be good in some aspects and not others. I haven't looked at the details. We'll see we'll see what actual policies they start pulling out. But yeah, that was according to Reuters. Chinese pigs are having their diets changed due to U.S. soy tariffs. If this doesn't drive soy farmers in America mad. But anyway, soy, China used to be the number one buyer of U.S. soy. And a lot of soy is actually used, and a lot of crops are like this actually. Most of the crops that are grown, like soy, corn, stuff like that, are actually for feeding animals, right? Actually feeding cows, pigs, different things. Well, now that, Trump is being wacko with the tariffs and just crazy nationalist fascist leader, China has figured out instead of being beholden to the U.S., maybe we can start making our own, pig feed basically from local plants and stuff. So we'll see what happens there, how much that further impacts U.S. farmers and whatnot. That was according to Reuters. So the head opposition leader in Taiwan is going on a peace mission to China. So we'll see what happens there. That's also according to Reuters. Also, India's central bank forbids banks in India to offer non-deliverable derivatives. So basically, this is a move by the Indian central bank to strengthen the rupee, which is the national currency of India. I'm going to warn you now, this is going to get a little into the weeds and a little technical. So non-deliverable derivatives are, let's say me as someone in the U.S. wants to short their rupee. So basically, shorting is essentially you're betting against the rupee from going up in value or whatever. You can short anything basically. But ultimately hurts the asset in the end, because basically you're betting for the asset to lose value, which is kind of counterintuitive to what, the markets are supposed to always gain value or whatever. So anyway, me as a U.S. investor, I would go to a bank in India, say, hey, I want one of these non-deliverable derivatives. So basically, it is this deal that, for instance, I have as an offshore investor with a bank in India that says, okay, I'm going to use my U.S. cash to bet that the rupee will be, at this price on this date. So it's basically saying betting on the future price of something. That's essentially what a derivative is. So just as an example, say, okay, I have, $1,000 here. And I want to say, okay, can you make me a deal? Bank of India or whatever, can you make me a deal that if the rupee hits, goes down to whatever, 30 cents, I forget how much it is. It's 1,000. I don't know what the exchange rate is right now, but let's just say it's 1,000 rupees gets you $1, for instance. Let's say I have $1,000 and I say, okay, I think, go to this Bank of India. I say, okay, I think the rupee is going to lose value in a month from now, and it's going to be down to 2,000 rupees for $1, right? Okay, so they're like, okay, we'll take that deal, and they take that deal because either way, they're still getting rupees, right? It's just that if it goes down, you get the difference, right? You get that $1,000 or whatever you put it. So you actually essentially win $1,000. If you lose, if the rupee actually gains value, then the Bank of India gets your $1,000 essentially, or you pay whatever the difference is. So it's kind of a win-win thing. It's a very complex form of gambling, which is essentially what stock trading is essentially. But in the long run, these transactions are done, and it's basically the final output is that people are betting on the Indian rupee losing value. And so, of course, the Indian central bank and the government of India don't want this because they want a strong rupee. They want a strong national currency. So the Central Bank of India has basically forbid banks in India from writing these contracts. So sorry, that was very detailed and convoluted, but to understand what was happening here, I think it was necessary. Anyway, that was according to the Financial Times. Thailand, I guess I didn't know this, but because I don't vape, right? I mean, I have, but very, very, very extremely rarely. So Thailand, there's a national ban on vaping and e-cigarettes. And apparently you get 5 years in prison if you get caught, which wow, that be careful, type of thing. Don't do it. That's according to Fox News. Africa news. Somalia opens their first offshore oil drill site. I'm not sure what company this is. I'm sure it's probably BP or Exxon or something like that. So again, how much money actual Somalis will see from this is probably pretty low. And it's just going to further hurt the fishing environment, and we'll probably just see continued illegal activity and pirating and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see. That's according to Reuters. Brazil has blacklisted China's BYD, which is an auto manufacturer. I guess they make electric vehicles and stuff like that. Basically, they have blacklisted them because they, shocker, they have slave-like conditions for their workers. That BYD only has one plant in Brazil. I think it's in Rio, maybe. But again, it's not just U.S. companies; it's every company. Of course, it's slave conditions. They don't get paid just about anything. They have to work ungodly hours. This is why solidarity and unionizing amongst the working class worldwide is so important, because they try to do this shit anywhere, US, anywhere. So stand in solidarity with Brazilian workers on this. And that was from Reuters. Also from Reuters and AP, we had two Democratic members of Congress, House of Representative members visited Cuba. So this is big. We need to normalize relations with Cuba. We need to end this stupid embargo. Well, it was ended under Obama, and then, of course, Trump can't handle that, so he had to reinstitute it. So yeah, that's good. Just one more instance of the U.S. normalizing relations with Cuba, which is great. There wasn't too much congressional news because they're on break right now. But one noteworthy one I saw is that the House of Representatives panel that's investigating all the Epstein stuff has set interview dates and times for Bill Gates, Howard Lutnick, who's actually the current Secretary of Commerce, and the prison guard who was on duty when Epstein killed himself, or allegedly, whatever. So So we'll see. These are all happening like in May, I want to say. So we still have a while, but good. Again, just haul them all in, haul everybody in. You know, hopefully there's criminal charges that come out of this, but we'll see. You know, we already talked about how hard it is to hold white men and rich people accountable. Anyway, air all their dirty laundry, right? Bring them into court. These are the people that should actually be in prison, not poor, falsely charged black and brown people. Anyway, White House, we got a few things. So apparently, if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz, Trump is I'm going to end their culture tonight. We'll see if that happens. He keeps moving the deadline. Just more bullying tactics. People are so done with it in the U.S. and around the world. This is why midterms are so important, right? We need to stop this. This is ridiculous. Here we go. The vice president goes back to Hungary to do another rally for Viktor Orban, the fascist leader in Hungary, pro-Putin. He loves Putin. He loves Trump. And this is an encouraging sign because it means that Trump and a lot of other Orban's allies are getting very afraid that he's going to lose this upcoming election here. I want to say it's this coming weekend, maybe, that's going to happen. Orban's biggest challenger is actually someone that was in his party, broke off and started a new, more moderate conservative party. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Apparently the election's Sunday, this coming Sunday. That's according to the BBC. Trump endorses Steve Hilton in the California Republican primary for governor, which is actually, I talked about this before. California is a jungle primary or an open primary, so there's no party primaries. Gavin Newsom is running against all these other candidates for re-election. I reported a while ago that Gavin Newsom was actually in polling was losing to two Republicans. This is obviously going to change it up a bit. It'll probably benefit Gavin Newsom, honestly. But Steve Hilton, one of the Republican people running, he was like a policy advisor or something in David Cameron's government. The posh boy, David Cameron, he was the prime minister a few prime ministers ago. He was the brilliant one that thought that, we should have a Brexit election so I can strengthen my position. Well, it turns out he lost big time, and the Nigel Farages and the UKIP and crazy right-wing people in the UK won, and now they're split from Europe. Anyway, he was in that administration. He's also a Fox News commentator, a conservative political commentator. So, surprise, surprise, another cuckoo MAGA Trump-loving political head that could probably do a lot less talking. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. The BBC and several other places reported that. Oh, this was nice. So Trump threatens... God, this is so stupid. Trump threatens to put reporter who first announced rescued airman's position in jail. So this is according to AP. This is just the dumbest shit. How scared Trump is of very ordinary people, how much of a snowflake he is. So apparently this reporter who first broke the story about this pilot being rescued, apparently knew where this pilot's position was, And Trump, of course, being a little baby that apparently this reporter knew before he did, and just usual stupid Trump stuff. Medicare Advantage payments are going to be raised by 2.48% to insurers. So again, just another example of how much a grift the American healthcare system is. That these Medicare advanced plans. So advanced plans are basically like you have Medicare, but then there's other medical charges because insurance and medical costs are so damn expensive and ridiculous in this country. People on Medicare have to have these extra plans to pay for all these other things, Anyway, and so these payments basically go to insurers anyway. So again, God forbid we give money to poor people, but we have more than enough cash to give to the rich, these businesses, these insurance companies that are the reason our health insurance is so fucked over. So anyway, Medicare for all. That's all I'm going to say. Universal health care would fix a lot of these issues. Trump proposes to cut about 9,500 workers and $1.5 billion from the TSA. Oh, I thought the TSA was so important, and that Democrats were destroying our country and laying in the terrorists. Right. Again, we all know how disingenuous Trump is. So his new stick now is, truly how much he doesn't actually care about anybody. He wants to privatize the TSA essentially, and his new budget is calling for firing people in TSA and reducing their budget. So again, it's all just a fucking farce. It's all just Donald Trump being a fucking baby and using whatever he can to to try to get what he wants. Just usual toddler tantrum energy from Donald Trump. Here's another one. So the Department of Education says that they're going to stop protecting trans students. So apparently the Department of Education had certain deals with certain school districts and certain colleges around the country that would protect trans students. Not anymore, because, of course, the most vulnerable are actually the enemy, according to Trump. So again, not surprising, but it's even more why, we need to organize solidarity. We need to protect those most vulnerable, the trans kids, the queer kids, because they lose their rights, they lose their protections. You lose your rights, you lose your protections. I don't care how privileged you are or you think you are. You're not. Here's another one. This was just, again, if it wasn't so consequential, right? How hilarious it would be. And this is a comedy bit waiting to be written, right? Well, several of them. So I'll just read it to you. This is according to the White House's page, their webpage. Trump. This was today. Trump delivers a message for Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Right. I mean, people already know. Write your own jokes about this. Department of Health and Human Services is proposing a rule to remove requirements of requiring people that get foster care agencies and stuff that get DHHS dollars from placing LGBT children in supportive homes. Again, not surprising. Apparently, this was in response to Texas had sued the Department of Health and Human Services a year or two ago. Again, Greg Abbott, Texas, Ken Paxton, all these whiny babies in Texas, sued the DHHS for proposing this rule. I think it was under Biden, probably. that said, oh, maybe we should place kids in homes that actually support them and love them. No, we can't do that. I mean, like, cruelty is just the fucking point, right? It's the point. So anyway, the DHS is doing that. I saw that on the Federal Register website today, the website that posts all the changes and bureaucracy laws and stuff like that. So that's wonderful. So the Endangered Species Committee, which was formed under the Endangered Species Act, which was passed in the 1970s sometime. It was all one of the major pieces of legislation that came out of the big environmental protection push in the 70s, created the EPA, all that stuff, which, by the way, Republican President Richard Nixon created the EPA. So all these Republicans are like, oh, the EPA is just terrible or whatever. Yeah, thank your former presidents for that, you dum-dums. Anyway, all right. So the Endangered Species Act sets up this committee called the Endangered Species Committee, which is made up of like the head of NOAA, like the head of Commerce. It's a bunch of the heads of agencies come together. They basically have this list of endangered species, right? And this is especially important for any time people are trying to build stuff. They have to check with them, get it cleared by them, so like we don't lose more species. So anyway, the Endangered Species Act, called by Pete Hegseth, the idiot in chief of our military, called for this because we're in an oil crisis right now. We need to do more drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. Who started this oil crisis? Your fucking boss. Who continues this oil crisis? You and your fucking boss. So it's just ridiculous. These idiots are so incompetent that they create these problems, and then they're like, oh wait, something I did is leading to negative consequences that I don't like. Oh my God, this is a new issue. Just incompetence, just cruelty. We all know. Just ridiculous. So anyway, more environmental destruction in the Gulf. That's wonderful. U.S. courts, not a lot of stuff. There's only one thing that I saw that I thought was kind of silly. Who was this? This may have been Fox News. I saw this on. It was either Fox News or MSN, formerly MSNBC. That I guess last year when Elon Musk was on his little, campaign for Trump or whatever, he was a scared little boy because he's actually facing fucking consequences for the first time in his life because he basically made himself a public figure. Again, these people are not smart. They are not smart at all. They create their own damn problems and then they cry about it, and they're just little snowflakes, So anyway, at one point, the U.S. Marshals, I guess, deputized a couple members of Elon Musk's security staff because of, little Elon Musk was getting scared that he was actually facing consequences and people were holding his feet to the fire. And then he decided, maybe politics isn't good for me. Just an idiot. Anyway, so, that's not wonderful at all. And it especially made me think of last episode where I talked about Camisas Peritadas. Sorry, I mispronounced that, but basically the deputizing of citizens and volunteers with police powers. Last state news here. So Florida passes a new law that allows the Florida government to designate more people as terrorists. Yeah, that's going to be every fucking trans child. in the state is going to be labeled a terrorist. Every like freaking black and brown person in the state of Florida is going to be labeled a terrorist. Again, not surprising. It's sad. Like, DSA, there's like 12 DSA chapters in Florida, push back, organize against this. I think DeSantis is going to finally reap some consequences these midterms. We'll see what happens, but this is just ridiculous. So there's the state of Minnesota has released more shooting footage from ICE in Minneapolis. Shocker, not surprising. Apparently they tried to stop someone. They were driving away in their vehicle and they shot at them. Thank God this person wasn't killed. But again, anybody that's just like, oh, ICE is just bringing peace. ICE isn't the one causing violence. Yeah, that, like, everybody knows that's a fucking lie. It's ICE and law enforcement that escalate every situation. Law enforcement is not your friends, no matter if it's the local police, state police, ICE. Do not talk to the cops. Okay. As if we thought military bases were immune to ICE. No, they're not. There was a military base in Louisiana that ICE raided and captured a woman. Now this soldier is trying to fight to get his wife was captured by ICE to get his wife back. Again, oh, these white men, these military people, they're immune to ICE. ICE won't affect them. Well, obviously fucking not. So, no one's immune. You think you're privileged, you think you're protected from this. Think again. And again, people, what's frustrating is like people are so blind to this until it smacks them in the face. But again, this is why we need to keep organizing. This is why we need to keep warning our neighbors about this. Just get this in the public's attention as much as possible. No one is fucking safe. No one. Okay, West Virginia. Yeah. West Virginia governor vetoes help for neglected foster kids. So that's great. We'll defund the foster care system in order to give, millionaires, billionaires, rich people in the state of West Virginia more tax breaks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is what you get under Republican leadership. This is what you get under politicians who are just like, oh, we need more tax cuts. Mm-hmm. You just get more people. This is what you get. And it's sad. And again, it's just like this. You think this only affects certain people. This affects everyone. Also, another thing, speaking of foster kids and vulnerable children, the rate of kids in Michigan, like foster care and juvenile care, that have real serious mental health issues are being sent out of state, often to Arizona, California, other places that are thousands of miles away from Michigan. And then we have research now that says, oh, this only makes it worse. No fucking shit. Come on now. And this is, Gretchen Whitmer, head of Michigan, Democrats control Michigan. This happens in it doesn't matter the politician again. It's the most vulnerable in our society who are always, the funding is always being pulled from. It's the most vulnerable in our society that are always labeled as fucking terrorists. And it just continues. It doesn't matter if a Democrat's in office or a Republican, hold their feet to the fucking fire. God. Okay, actually, both these West Virginia, Michigan things were from the AP, also from the AP. So the University of Wisconsin system is just a mess right now. So the president, the head of the University of Wisconsin system, was asked to resign by the Board of Regents. The president has refused, saying that he wasn't given any specific reason as to why. And so now the Board of Regents, I guess, is voting this week whether to fire him or not. This is on top of the chancellor, so the head of the University of Wisconsin at Madison just got hired at Columbia, so she is moving there. So big mess. It's not just Wisconsin, it's literally every state university system in this country. Apparently, University of Wisconsin system closed down like 6 or 7 different branches, something like that. We're seeing the same thing here in our university system. And it's just further attacks on education, and vulnerable students and everything else, So anyway, so the state of Iowa had this book ban where they were banning, God forbid, elementary school children read books about gender and sexual orientation. Ooh, no, they get that shit from their churches enough. You're bad if you have sex. You're then, just the complete shame and guilt shit. Anyway, so Iowa had this book ban. It was challenged. It was struck down in district court. Now the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals has upheld it. So I mean, we'll see. It's working through the court system. AP reported that. Okay, there's a funny one I saw on Fox News. So of course they had this article to try to say, oh, we need the police, the police are so important. Anyway, they had this story about apparently there was a person in Boston, this poor soul apparently was having a mental breakdown, essentially, was in their apartment, called 911, was freaking out about how, I don't know, government black site agents or something were around their house and they had to protect themselves and they were scared. So Boston is kind of leading, one of the places that's leading the country in actually defunding the police and moving that funding to more peaceful means, to actual healthcare professionals responding to people in healthcare emergencies. Oh my God, what a evil idea. Yeah. So anyway, I thought it was funny because this article was all about oh, this is why we need police, because there's crazy people, against just stigmatizing anybody with mental health in this country. It's always the vulnerable who are the fucking terrorists, who are always the fucking problem. Anyway, so this mental health unit responds. They're trying to negotiate with this person for 45 minutes outside their door. And then this person comes out because now, oh shit, now the literal government is here. Apparently this person stabs one of these responders with a knife in the arm. That this responder survived, thank goodness. But somehow this person going through a mental health break still got shot and killed by the cops. So again, it's just ridiculous. This is even in these stories, Fox News and you conservatives try to say why the police are so necessary. People still get shot and killed by the cops. It's just okay, still there was obviously a gun there. And we know it wasn't the person that was in distress because they had a sword. So again, this is why gun control is so important. We need to demilitarize. We need to take guns away from the cops, take guns away from ICE. And this is just another example why, because even in these cases that these mental health responders are responding, there's still obviously guns going there. So where the fuck did this gun come from that killed this person? It's from a fucking pig. And so the pigs are still there. So this whole myth about oh, cops are not responding anymore. Bullshit. Cops are always the fucking problem. Always the fucking problem. Anyway, This was another one. So DeSantis may call, this is according to the AP, I believe, or maybe it was Fox News. Anyway, so Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, may call a special session, may call the Florida legislature back in order to outlaw cousin marriage. Again, the jokes just write themselves. Anyway, California again had this was according to Fox News. So California had the audacity to raise the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour. And now, oh my God, your fast food is going to be unaccessible and you can't afford it anymore. And all the usual, it's just so damn predictable. All this shit that they always say, anytime like a business has to pay their fair share, it's always, oh, these poor businesses, oh, these poor rich people, they're the true victims in our society. It's like bullshit, like bull fucking shit. People know this is a joke. This is just straight up propaganda. This is actually a good sign that we're holding the Epstein class to account. We're saying, no, we're not putting up with your shit anymore. You can't hoard all the wealth. You can't screw over workers. So keep it up, honestly. Keep it up. So apparently one of the, again, not too surprising, one of the candidates for New York governor in the Republican primary, turns out, runs his own militia on Long Island, which, coming from Long Island, this checks out. Like, Long Island is like the cuckoo part of New York City. So yeah, that was great. That's been exposed. That was according to MSN. Again, not surprising. Yeah, Republicans don't inspire and encourage violence. Right. Nevada joins the lawsuit against Trump's mail-in ballots executive order. So if you remember, I think it was like last week, Trump signed an executive order basically banning mail-in ballots, essentially. So Nevada joins. There's already like 12 states, so I think Nevada will be like the 13th. So keep going. Anything we can do to resist Trump and government officials from taking your vote away, we need to do. All right, we're almost done here. I promise. Okay, well, all right. So some other stuff. Last few things here. So the UN Security Council voted down a resolution on opening the Strait of Hormuz today. That's according to Reuters. Amazon makes a new deal with the Postal Service, which is just like ridiculous that, this is what happens when you fucking cut government programs. They end up like being essentially privatized because that's where the money is. So, and of course it will be like, oh, it's because private business and Amazon is so efficient, yada, yada. Yeah, bullshit. The Postal Service would be a lot more efficient if the government hadn't stopped funding it. But anyway, that was according to Reuters. Yeah, that was basically it for today. My call to action would just be, again, know who your ops are, know who your oppositions are. Watch for people when people start making like crazy accusations about like someone's a terrorist or like the transes or sexualizing the children or whatever stupid shit they say. Like, look at that. For as disgusting as it is and revulsive as it is, look into why do you think they may be saying that? Often it's because they're repressed, closeted queer people themselves that instead of going to therapy, commit violence on other people. More people went to therapy, right? This world would be a little bit better place. Anyway, But just like I said, every accusation is a confession. Every accusation. Someone says something stupid and mean, they're probably doing it because they struggle with it too. So anyway, that is it. I've been going on for a while now. I'm going to call it a day. I will see you tomorrow. Peace.